Something is off in Buffalo, and if you watch the Bills stumble through their 24 quarters loss to the Falcons, you probably felt it too. This wasn't just a bad day at the office for Josh Allen and company. This was an unprepared, uncoordinated mess that exposed a team completely out of sync with its own identity. Let's talk about what really went wrong, starting with the part of the team that left the biggest stain, the offense. Josh Allen didn't look like himself. He finished 15 of 26 for 110 yards, with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. But those numbers don't tell the full story. He was the 26th ranked quarterback in expected points added per dropback this week. That's the 10th worst game he's had since becoming the face of this franchise in 2020. And make no mistake, it wasn't just him. The offensive line couldn't hold up. The play calling from Joe Brady lacked cohesion, and the supporting cast struggled to create separation or find rhythm. Everything about this passing game felt forced, scattered, and unprepared for what the Falcons were throwing at them. Atlanta came into this matchup with the highest blitz rate in the entire NFL, and somehow the Bills looked shocked to see pressure. Allen was pressured on over 50% of his dropbacks, taking 4 sacks, with 2 of those directly on him. The Falcons had a pressure rate over expectation of more than 25%, a ridiculous number, and they blitzed on 60% of the passing plays. The result? Josh Allen looked rattled, uncomfortable, indecisive. It was the most out of sync we've seen him in a very long time. So you have to ask, what was the plan? What were the Bills preparing for all week? Because it sure didn't look like they anticipated any of this pressure. And that's a problem. That's a massive coaching problem. Protection schemes failed left and right. Allen didn't find his hot reads when the pressure came. And even when the looks were there, the routes didn't offer enough quick answers. You're not just talking about a breakdown in execution. You're talking about a failure in game planning from start to finish. Joe Brady didn't adjust. He didn't prepare his guys. And that's back-to-back weeks where we're saying the same thing about this offense. What's even more frustrating is how predictable some of these problems are. Everyone knows Atlanta brings pressure. It's not a surprise. You're going to get 5-, 6-, 7-man looks. And you came into this game without a counterpunch, without any built-in mechanisms to make them pay for being aggressive. That's coaching malpractice. That's not being ready. And when the quarterback starts locking in on his reads and making decisions before the snap that don't adjust as the play unfolds, the whole thing collapses. Allen wasn't seeing the field cleanly. He was turning down open throws, bailing on clean pockets, and trying to force plays that weren't there. You could see it, predetermined decisions, locking onto a first read and refusing to work through the progression. That's not the Josh Allen we know. He was out of rhythm, and instead of playing fast, he looked like he was guessing. That's what happens when a quarterback doesn't trust what's around him, the protection, the play design, or the receivers. Speaking of receivers, let's talk about Keon Coleman. The Bills are completely overcommit to trying to make him into something he's not ready to be. Every time he gets isolated in man coverage, Allen looks his way like it's an automatic mismatch. And it's just not. These aren't free buckets. These are wasted plays. Over and over again, the Bills try to force the ball his way, and more often than not, it went nowhere. Coleman has physical gifts, no doubt, but he's not separating at an elite level. He's not winning 50-50 balls with consistency. You have to scheme him open, not just toss it his way and hope. There's this weird pattern where the offense gets so obsessed with testing one-on-one matchups that it abandons the flow of the game. When you're facing a team like Atlanta, with smaller personnel and a high blitz rate, your identity should revolve around big personnel, play action, and a punishing run game. And when the Bills leaned into that, when they ran from under center with gap schemes and committed to James Cook, it worked. They just didn't do it enough. This team ran for Mays DeCento e Trina Jardas on 24 tentativas. That's over 5 jardas y media por cargada. And yet, instead of staying with what was working, they kept forcing the issue through the air. Even more frustrating is that they had clear success early in those touchdown drives. Play action from big personnel, opening up explosive plays like the bomb to Josh Palmer. And then, Palmer gets hurt, and it's like the game plan vanishes into thin air. Now, let's talk about personnel usage, especially at running back. James Cook played Trina snaps. Ty Johnson played 24. Ray Davis played Doyce. Cook was clearly the most effective runner, especially out of the gap schemes. But Ty Johnson got a big workload. Why? Because of his pass protection. In a game where the Falcons blitzed constantly, the Bills leaned on Johnson to keep Josh Allen upright. And while that makes sense in theory, it doesn't justify taking Cook off the field as much as they did. There are ways to keep him involved. Put him in the slot. Use him as a check down. Make him a hot read. He's one of your best playmakers. Find a way. The refusal to adapt mid-game is what's most troubling. This is the second straight week where Joe Brady walked into a game without a plan for pressure. That's inexcusable. If you're not ready to counter a blitz-heavy defense, you're not doing your job. This offense needs a serious reset, not in talent, but in awareness. Because right now, it looks like they're calling plays in a vacuum, with no connection to what the defense is actually doing. And let's not ignore the basic execution issues either. Third down throws that should be easy missed. Simple concepts like check downs or timing throws off. Plays designed for yards after the catch are being thrown behind or into traffic. The attention to detail just isn't there. And when your offense is struggling, you can't afford to waste snaps on low-percentage isolation routes or gimmick plays that have no rhythm with the rest of the drive. There's no denying it. Joe Brady has had 2 weeks in a row where his offensive plan didn't match the moment. He looked like a coordinator running a practice script, not someone attacking a live defense. And it cost the Bills big time. Josh Allen deserves criticism, but so do the play designs, the protection calls, and the receiver usage. It's all connected. When everything falls apart this way, it's not just on the quarterback, it's on the whole offensive structure. And here's what's worse. It's not like the Falcons played an elite game. Their defense blitzed as expected. Their corners held up decently. But the opportunities were there. Guys were open, just not found. The protection wasn't perfect, but it wasn't the worst we've seen either. The offensive production failed because the plan failed. Execution failed. Timing failed. Awareness failed. This isn't just about one loss. This is about a team that looks like it doesn't know what it wants to be. Are they a pass-first, shotgun-heavy team? Are they a gap scheme, play-action-heavy unit that controls the game with a run? Right now, it feels like they're trying to do both and failing at both. And until they figure that out, you're going to keep seeing weeks like this. The real shame of this game is that the defense actually found its footing, but it was too late. You give up 3 touchdowns on the first 4 drives, and you're already chasing the game. But from that point on, the defense actually settled down, made adjustments, and started getting stops. That shift didn't happen by accident. It came from a clear change in coverage philosophy, and it almost turned the game around. The problem? The offense never did its part. And in the NFL, if one side of the ball can't hold its own, the other side's progress means nothing. Early in the game, the Bills stuck with spot drop zone coverages, the kind where defenders drop to predetermined landmarks and trust the play to unfold in front of them. But against an offense like Atlanta's, that's just asking to get picked apart. And it's exactly what happened. You saw massive cushions, players covering space instead of receivers, and a complete lack of adjustment as the play developed. Guys were just drifting into space, not reacting to route combinations or quarterback cues. That's how you end up with so much open grass and so many easy completions. It's not just about alignment. It's about awareness. And in the first half, Buffalo didn't have it. Then came the shift. In the second half, the Bills scrapped that passive zone look and went heavier with man coverage. They tightened up their spacing. They put more stress on the Falcons' receivers to win routes. They rolled with single-high safety looks instead of keeping 2 back deep. And suddenly, everything clicked. The Falcons went from marching down the field with ease to struggling for every yard. Desmond Ridder, who looked comfortable early, finished the second half with just 79 yards on 8 completions. It was a different defense. Faster, more aggressive, and actually reactive. But there were still breakdowns, and one of the worst came late in the fourth quarter. Down by just 1 touchdown, the Bills had clawed their way back and needed one more stop. Instead, the Falcons marched into field goal range, and the killer play came on a 2nd and 9. Bijan Robinson leaked out, and picked up trace yards on a simple check down. Buffalo was in cover 3 seam, and cornerback Tre'Davious White blew the assignment. He got caught watching the seam route and left Robinson wide open in the flat. That mistake changed the game. It gave Atlanta the breathing room they needed and made it a 2-score contest with just minutes left. Another tough lesson came in the form of Jamarcus Ingram, who saw some unexpected snaps at corner. It didn't go well. He got caught on a couple of critical plays, the worst being that near touchdown before the half when he was left one-on-one with Drake London. That should never happen. It's a bad matchup. Ingram backpedaled too deep, gave London space, and then slipped trying to close. London nearly scored, and it exposed how thin the Bills are in the secondary when forced to go beyond their top guys. But the biggest defensive gut punch? That 81-yard touchdown run from Bijan Robinson. It erased any momentum the Bills had built, and it came just one snap after what should have been a sack on first down, only to be negated by an offsides penalty. That play summed up everything frustrating about this defense. One mental mistake turns a win into disaster. On the touchdown run, linebacker Terrell Bernard was slow to diagnose, didn't leverage his gap properly, and got turned out of the hole. Safety Cole Bishop took a terrible angle, and Ingram on the edge failed to disrupt the runner even a little. One small lapse from 3 different players, and suddenly Bijan was gone. That's how fast it happens in the NFL. The rushing defense has been a roller coaster all season, some big stops, but too many explosive runs. Against Atlanta, it was the same story. 32 rushes for Des Jardas, over Cease Jardas Poor Carragata, and 2 touchdowns. The defense actually had 9 plays where they held the Falcons to 1 yard or less. But those efforts get erased when you give up chunk gains. It's hard to win when you're living on that edge. The tackling was another issue. 19 missed tackles in this game. That's not just a bad number, it's an epidemic. Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop combined for 7 missed tackles by themselves. Christian Benford, usually a very reliable tackler, missed 3. Dorian Williams had a couple, and even veterans like Greg Rousseau and Shaq Thompson chipped in with 1 each. When your defense is already on its heels and can't wrap up in space, it's a recipe for disaster. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. In a stunning turn of events that has sent shockwaves across the football world, the NFL has reportedly acknowledged a critical officiating error and decided to restore a previously stripped title to the Buffalo Bills. While details remain murky, sources close to the league office describe heated internal debates and an unprecedented review process that ultimately led to the Bills' reinstatement as champions of the disputed season. The controversy stems from an alleged officiating mistake during a decisive playoff game several years ago, a call that, according to insiders, had been quietly questioned by both referees and league officials for years. The issue apparently resurfaced after new video evidence and recalibrated game data revealed inconsistencies in the ruling that determined the final outcome. This isn't something we do lightly, a source familiar with the NFL's internal review told reporters under condition of anonymity. But when the integrity of the game is at stake, even the league must own up to its mistakes. Fans in Buffalo have erupted in celebration, flooding social media with emotional posts and impromptu gatherings downtown. For a fan base that has endured decades of heartbreak, for consecutive Super Bowl losses and countless near misses, this sudden reversal feels almost surreal. "We finally got what we deserved," said one lifelong supporter outside Highmark Stadium. "It's justice, even if it came late." Meanwhile, rival fan bases and analysts are divided. Some applaud the league for transparency, while others accuse it of rewriting history for public relations purposes. Critics warn that the decision could set a dangerous precedent, inviting other franchises to demand retroactive reviews of controversial calls. The NFL has yet to issue an official statement explaining the full scope of its decision, but one thing is certain. This revelation has reignited decades-old debates about officiating, replay technology, and the league's credibility. For now, Buffalo stands vindicated, basking in a long-delayed glory. Whether this chapter becomes a symbol of fairness or a spark for chaos in the league's history books remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, the Bills are once again champions. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.